So what about running commentary and version tracking then? So what we have in Sibelius Sense version 6 was the introduction of versions and comments, which are found under the Review tab. But I want to talk about these in conjunction with this new feature that we find next to them on the top left here called Annotate in Sibelius 8.0. But versions, just to start at the beginning, are a way of saving a Sibelius score within a Sibelius score, so you can track the changes of that score over time. And this is done by clicking on the new version option here up in the Review tab, and then you can add some comments about the version. And click OK. And as I look at the version history throughout my score, it'll then prompt me through and show me how that score has changed over time. So clearly quite a bit changed between version 3 and version 4 by the looks of things. And you can make any of these versions the current version by using the Make Current option here, and export as a separate score, export a log to show all the changes in a text file. So there's all kinds of useful things you can do. So encouraging students to follow the default directive when they close Sibelius to save a version, or if you're using a network license with classroom control, prompting them to save a version regularly can be really useful to see how they've tracked and changed their score over time. And also just with general collaboration with other musicians and composers as well, of course. So looking at the comments feature next door, I've got a few comments in this score, just a little simple example of the type of things you might say at various points, just to give a bit of encouragement or advice on how the score might get more interesting or better harmonised or something like that. But in conjunction with these, which helpfully will give you some information about the stave and bar they're attached to, as well as the comment and the person that made it. When you have students, for instance, put their own comments in a score, maybe with questions for you, and retrieve that score back from them, their comments will come up in a different colour and will have their username under the computer that they were logged into at the time. So this one's showing my user account name here, and it just gives you a helpful way to keep track of who said what at various points throughout the score. But with the Annotate feature as well, this can give you a bit more scope for drawing specific attention to certain areas in a way that looks quite different and catches the eye. I'm doing this on the Surface Pro again this time because I want to show it with the pen. You can do this with the mouse, but it's not as nice to draw with, of course, as the pen is. But I'm just going to draw, now that I've got the Annotate feature on, draw directly in the score, and I might say, let's say these chords are related to this comment, just hypothetically. I can do things like this that then give us some direct highlighted handwritten information on the score that really draws the eye to it, as opposed to everything else that looks very uniform and computer generated, so it's all very tidy, and sometimes it can be harder over time for the eye to separate all of those things. But when you start adding these kind of directives and handwritten annotations to the score, it all of a sudden becomes very obvious what's being talked about. So like all images that you add to the score, these are technically treated as images in the background. We can do things like colorize them. Just bring up the choose color wheel. So if you had something that was particularly wrong, you can make it a nice angry red, or something really good. You could do silly things like maybe have a little smiley face, something like that. And anything that your imagination puts in your head, really. I mean, you're just drawing with a pen, so anything technically is possible that you can imagine drawing in the score. So it gives scope for a lot more options for drawing attention and making particular types of comments and statements about what's going on in your students' or colleagues' scores. So a really useful new feature. It's just this little thing up here in the top corner of the review tab, but has a lot of potential for communication and other things as well.